Yovy?
Yes, hi, LaShawn. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
How are you? Are you
All
ready
right,
for
quiet on
me?
the set. I'm ready.
We going in three, two, one.
Hey there, Yovy D. It's Craig here from The Whistler. Just want to say hello.
Yovy, I thank you so much for trusting me and for having so much passion.
Jovy D, what is good, girl? I just want to thank you so much for the shout out, no doubt. I appreciate you because you great.
Hey, Yovy D. Thank you so much for stopping by and giving us some love. That was awesome.
On which one? Shame or please don't date me?
Please don't take me. I'm curious.
Oh
Where
my
we're at in
goodness.
our life
I
cycle of our
chose
business.
Positive
Life.
vibes
So I
here.
began to build up-
Congratulations with everything that you're doing. Just keep doing your thing. Keep being you. I love it.
It's mind-boggling in a sense because, yeah, that's just the power of technology.
2, 1. Hello, my kiddos. How are you? How are you? Yes, this is the Joey D Show. I'm going, and we are here. I'm here. Why I say we because you're a part of this 2024. And again, I have a nice special guest. Joey, all your guests are special. Yes, they are. And nonetheless, I have, I'm not gonna be like, I have a friend. She's beyond, but the most important thing for me to share is her journey. Her name is Jacqueline Moreno. She's an expert in many things about life. No, but anyways, maybe because I'm being biased, obviously, but you know what? Give her a warm welcome, and I'm gonna ask her, welcome, because the Joey D Show is about innovating yourself skills, but also transforming your own scope mentality in many different ways, in many different layers. So, with that being said, Jacqueline, the mic is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. Was such a nice warm welcome, my friend. Yeah, we definitely have, some time that we've known each other. So thank you so much for that. And listen, I may be an expert in many things, but so are you.
I know, right? I'm like, life phases just taking us by step, by each phase. And, the first question that I always do in this information is where, especially, we're gonna delve a little bit when it comes to grief, um, and mental health, and how corporate culture deals with those topics, personalized. So, if you can tell us a little bit about your story, Jackie, go ahead.
Yeah. So, yeah, the mental health, navigating through mental health in a corporate structure, in a corporate, working in a corporate company, corporate America, whatever you call it, it is, yeah, I mean, it is getting so. There are companies that are a little bit better than others. From my experience is, I think I experienced sort of the the not so experienced area of corporate culture.
Break it down, my friend. Break it down. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, coming from higher ed, for the viewers and listeners, I have about 15 years of working in higher education. I had panic attacks, and many of my coworkers just didn't really know how to advise me, how to, they just, a lot of times they would just say, "Oh, we'll just go see a therapist," and that was it. Like, how do you navigate working while you're feeling sick?
Is this the part that where you, sorry to interrupt, but is this the part where you kind of like expect from your higher ups or supervisors to have a level of emotional intelligence and empathy?
Yeah, you do. You expect, you do it, well, you would want management to be knowledgeable, and have some training, some basic training on how to assist you. And there wasn't really much of that where I was, and at the time, I think it was during a lot of the Me Too movement. So, 10 years ago, a decade ago, little over a decade ago. And so it was sort of like navigating through, really just no information or no knowledge. And I went to HR, and HR was like, okay, well, we can do FMLA. And so I went through that route. But I seek the information for myself. There wasn't really like, this is how the step-by-step will work.
Can you break down for our listeners the FMLA? How does that work? Because it operates in different key scenarios.
So FMLA, I think, stands for Florida Medical Leave. Florida being the state that I'm residing in.
Family medical leave too as well.
Sorry, you're right. Family medical. I don't know why I thought of Florida.
She's like there.
But I am in the state of Florida, so now you know. But yeah, family medical leave, and it was available for myself, and I was able to. Oh, do you see me?
Yes.
Yeah, so it was available for myself, and that I needed to have it approved from a doctor. And in this case, I had to have a psychiatrist approve it. So
wow, very high level. Because I want to just kind of revert, because if you guys heard the term FMLA, usually is either you have heard it for somebody that either had a pregnancy and it's a maternity leave. Sometimes also people can use it for caregiving purposes to take care of their parents or something is going through. But now you open this space that, also for mental health, for mental wellness.
Yeah. And I'll actually tell you a story about my current position and what I have learned about FMLA at my current position. So, but during this time, this was all new to me. I didn't I didn't know about FMLA. When you sign onto a job, you read basically the handbook.
Employee orientation.
Right. And you get that, and you see that, and you're just like, oh, okay, cool. That's not going to be not really going to use this. Like, it's not something. Okay. But in this case, I thought it was the best way to get out of the situation. And it was a very generous amount of time. I was out for a month. And then when I was coming back, I actually didn't come back. I actually submitted my my resignation. So
wow.
Yeah. And then that was
a wake-up call.
It was a wake-up call, because it was like navigating through, now I have to find, employment, even though I'm still in this state of I'm not well yet. But I was like, well, what am I going to do? I can't go back to work. I don't feel ready to go back to work. So then I tried to navigate the world of employment, and not in higher ed, still through education, and failed. Then came back to higher ed, and in a different company, in a different school, and just wasn't happy.
But then I want to pick up on that word that you said, failed.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to that. So failing meant that I wasn't really fitting into the role that I was in. And
all right.
So that's where I saw it as a failure, because I saw, well, I'm not fitting. This is a role that I'm navigating. And actually it was like 3 different people's jobs into one. So I kind of put myself in a place where I really wasn't going to, succeed. So that was experimental. And then
said you say fail is a first attempt in learning about yourself, learning about what you.
Yeah, I learned a lot. I learned I couldn't do 3 people's jobs, and it just wasn't, and especially with the type of my mental health and
state of mind.
Where I was mentally, my state of mind. I put myself through something that I was going to fail at. But that was a learning lesson, and that, I came, then I underrepresented myself into a job that I took, because I said, well, I can't do these 3 people's jobs, so let me just do a job that I know how to do, and then it'll be a little easier. And then I was so bored, Jovy.
It's I'm like,
yeah.
And we have to add the layer that, you have to highlight that also all of this happened during the premise of before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and after the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. So, then you're like, oh my gosh, this is not ideal. And
existential questions of what,
yeah, what am I going to do next? Right. And what am I, who am I as a woman? Who am I as an employee, and where am I going? And all those questions, right?
And what I'm good at.
What are my strengths? What are my skills? So yeah, the land of exploration, the time of exploration comes in, which I think in the pandemic year, it was kind of thus one of the beauty, one of the wonderful things that happened is that you have a lot of time to think about yourself. You have a lot of
that happened to, I think, to most of us, all of us.
Yeah. So yeah, so then you're navigating through, okay, I'm going to fall back on something that I did. I went into a massage program, and that massage program was really something I wanted to accomplish, like when I was 17, and I never got to it. And I said, you know what, this will help me because I'm helping others. And it was something physical, that you're doing with your hands. And I learned I'm a kinesthetic learner. I learn through making, like through touch. And touch,
which is a healing form.
Right. And through healing others, I started to feel like I was healing myself. Yeah. So,
yeah.
So that was my way of like, okay, this is my wellness. This is how I come into my wellness journey. This is how I feel really worked for myself. And then I got into, cognitive behavioral therapy. I started a job where I learned, how to motivate others, how to engage others in new behaviors, positive, behaviors that give them positive reinforcement, learning how to be someone's, accountability partner, stuff that I had a little bit of background, in,
right,
but in an academic world.
Academia form, yes.
World. And so now I was doing it in a mental health, with a mental health focus. And that just I started to thrive into that role, because I felt that I was this, I was already surviving. I had been surviving. I was healing. I could help others heal. And I could help heal, not only through touch, but I could also heal them with, with my guidance and with my voice. And that really, really started to make a lot, my
Makes
accomplishment.
sense.
Yeah. And I started to feel good about myself. And just my way of looking at myself definitely soared. I started to feel like, hey, I can accomplish a lot more, because I'm doing this good work. So
I want to add something, and I know that when you're listening to this podcast, it's like there's a definitely a synchrony. Not only that they have that, I know Jackie as a friend, but also I want to say that Jackie is very humble. But since I met her, Jackie has been also very spiritual kind of person, very kind and very generous with her time for the right space. She has, let me make sure, but she always has been very, very in touch with her sense of being, but I've seen her flourish in such a way that I just like I cannot. I'm telling you, I feel so so happy for you because you finally are in that space that you are glowing, my friend. You're glowing.
thank you. Vice versa. I I love that you're doing this stuff, because we always talked about this when we were like brainstorming what's going to start next. And both of us being with media backgrounds, you
Yes.
having such a such a long period of
Yeah.
experience.
Yes. But it's like all these experiences, pretty much
Yeah.
similar to what you are going through. All those experiences, like we say, failing or being challenged has helped us get to the place that we needed to do. We had to go through those lessons in order to be where we at.
Yes, we did. And I think that ultimately, getting what we've discovered is that as women, we don't really discover ourselves, at a certain age. I don't think there is no like, hey, you're supposed to know yourself by age this, or you're supposed to know yourself when you do this. There's no instructional manual
No,
for.
but it's also the added pressure, like, oh, your 20s, you're supposed to know this. Then your 30s,
Yeah,
you're supposed to know this. Then your 40s,
right.
you're supposed to have it all together. We
Yeah,
are learning.
right. The societal pressures, and we, as Hispanic women, I think, and being, first generation, is there is that added pressure of like, you must succeed because you are really the first to be here and to be in this world, in this in this American culture, and 100% been here since you were a kid. So there's that added like, okay, there's this pressure to succeed, but also there's also the norms, the gender norms. Like, you're still a woman, you still have to have certain things that you have set for you because of where you're from,
Correct.
because so I've been exploring a lot about that, and especially now that I'm in an HR role
Mm-hmm.
in a private equity company. So I'm in like
Mm-hmm.
really, but it's more of a in a smaller scale. It's not like your big conglomerate private equity.
Right. But before we get to that,
Hmm?
we wanted to touch about grief. And I want to actually make a disclaimer for anybody. If you are seeking for anything that you need mental health, please seek for help. And we're not experts, but we only can voice what our experiences have been in this process. And I will share with you, my kiddos, that if you didn't know by now, I had a passing of my grandmother. And as Chinny, I'll talk about that in another podcast. But also, I want to come back to Jackie. Jackie had also a story about grief as well.
Yeah, we actually both had the passing of your grandmother and my mother this
Mhm.
for 2023, and
Mm-hmm.
your grandmother being more like a mother to
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
than your actual mother. And I know, and I don't know if your listeners know that, but
I have shared a little bit, yeah, with them.
and so like my mother being like the glue to our entire family, it was a huge blow to all of us, left us sort of like, in limbo. It leaves you sort of like your identity as a daughter, and your identity, I'm sure, as has changed. Like you no longer have this dedicated time that you have spent with this person and with this loved one. You no longer have that time that you have dedicated to them, and it sort of becomes like, whoa, what am I supposed to do with my time now? What am I
Yeah.
Because I have dedicated so much to having this person survive, like helping this person survive. My mom had been diagnosed in 2022 with stage 4 cancer, bladder cancer. And it was a really, it was abrupt for all of us, and a really bad, really bad news for my dad. Him being a doctor, my dad.
Can you tell us how long your parents were married? Oh,
55 years.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. A whole life. I know.
Yeah.
I know. First, my dad was basically, my mom was his oxygen. My dad relied on my mom for everything. Every decision my dad made, my mom was consulted.
The vehicle. Mm-hmm.
The vehicle. Yeah. My dad would literally just, he would just work. That was his job. My mom was a housewife. But more than a housewife, she was a manager. She managed my dad. I mean, yeah, it's how it was. It's a matriarchal society, household. So
Familia Latina, my family, Latin family dynamics.
My mom calls the shots. My dad has the money. That's just how I was raised. And he not having my mom sick, and my mom was sick for a very long time. She just wasn't, she was the kind of sick that you learn to understand and accept. And it was like, okay, mom, you've got your pills,
Mm-hmm.
you wake, it takes you a while to get ready, and my mom would take like 2 hours, 3 hours to get ready. It was what it was.
That generation. Yeah.
Friends and family would laugh, would make jokes like, hey, your mom, she gets here when it's like almost over, and then there's an hour extended of the night just because of your mom. But she was like the party. She was the life.
She was a light. She is a light.
Yeah. So even if she got there late, she got to the best part of the party. The party was even better because of her. So not having her, or just losing her in that matter, was like everybody was going through an identity crisis too. So it was like, okay, just when I thought I was already getting better, that I was doing so well.
Exactly. Then there's this hurdle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was up here and I was loving my job, loving what I was doing, working
from her career was going, but then the personal part, was getting.
It was going up. I was like, I actually was thinking about, launching my own business and stuff like that. And it's just like, I just like, okay, no, that is going to be put on hold because I have to be there for my mom. And so I was there for my mom. And I was navigating through, being on at work, which is really hard. For anyone who's in mental health or works in mental health, if you're losing a loved one and you're working at the same time, like, I commend you, like, 1,000%, because to be able to like distinguish and have those two boundaries in your mind is really hard, because I would have someone struggling on the phone with me or on video with me, and there were parts of me like, I don't know what else to say. I don't know how else to give. What can I give you when I'm on empty right now?
What kind of words can I have in
How
that sense? I don't have any words to console you or heal you at this time.
this time, like I'm having a hard time healing myself and comforting myself because I'm going through this difficulty. So, yeah, so like, so how can I say? So I asked my bosses at the time if I could maybe go part-time or if I could do FMLA again.
Well, hold on that thought,
Yeah.
because we're gonna go on a little break. I
Sure.
usually do breaks in the show, so we're gonna hold on a tad and we're gonna come back with Jackie Moreno. And now we are back. Yes, we're back in the break. So we are gonna continue talking with Jacqueline Moreno about mental health, grief, and how we navigate all of those factors through the corporate structure with human resources or HR. Go ahead, Jackie.
So, yeah, so for those that, started now and haven't started at the beginning, I did start with my journey through how, I didn't really know FMLA, and I had needed FMLA for my own mental health. And I had taken some time off. This time I consulted, early with my bosses about, maybe taking some time off for my mom, because my mom was sick. And it wasn't, the company wasn't generous with the FMLA the way that my previous company had been. I was like, they were like, yeah, you can take up to a month. And then in this case, they were like, yeah, no, we don't actually pay for FMLA.
Wow.
Yeah. So like you would have to, you would be out of work. You wouldn't have any pay. I mean, you could take the time.
And this is the time that you're dealing with your mom health.
Wouldn't be paid. And I was really floored by that. And because I signed a non-disclosure agreement.
Correct.
Get into the details of it, but it really left me, the company really left me high and dry, because I expected more from a mental health company. I expected more for something so big as like, hey, I need time to, to heal. I need time to replenish. I feel like I'm
through this. Yeah.
This. I feel like I'm on empty here, like with my clients. And all they did was, well, you make the decision, but if you want to, and I said, well, what if I had just had less clients? And so they were like, we don't have a way of like reducing because yeah, we don't have a way, because you're on, and this is the expectation we have. We encourage you to, to use your benefits, which is essentially, use your benefits, which is essentially another word of saying, go see a therapist, talk to a therapist. You have that option.
Wow.
So
the turnaround here.
Yeah. So then that's the route that I took, because I mean, I needed the pay. I wasn't, if I took FMLA, like any money. So I went that route, and I signed up for, which was in tandem to working. And my therapist was like, wow, like, I commend you for continuing to work while you're going through this, but I don't know, you know, it was just really, really difficult to work and do this while you're grieving because
While you're grieving, seeking for help, working.
yeah, because
managing.
with the cancer diagnosis, I mean, we were hopeful for, even though with back to stage 4, we were hopeful. We were looking for other avenues. We were looking for other you know, procedures, everything. Like, we were investigating like how to save my mom. And yeah, so it was like the just your whole day was consumed by that. And and not only that, but like I was working out of her, which later I found out I wasn't supposed to be doing. I was working in the hospital. I wasn't working at home, which is where I needed to be working. So yeah. So anyway, story short, I ended up you know, leaving this company because I decided, you know what, it's not worth my this
Your coping mechanisms at the moment, yeah.
This duress, this stress, this I'm, you know, and I'm just gonna go, and it's not the best idea, again, because I did that back when I told you before.
Yeah.
And it's like you're going and just leaving a job and not having any backup, which is not the ideal situation.
It's not highly recommended.
Not recommended, but unfortunately there is nothing to save people when they are going through a mental health breakdown. There isn't anything to kind of bridge that, like, hey, this is how we're going to help you while you're going through this. And there wasn't enough for that. I think that's where we need to improve in terms of like HR and benefits and all of that. And that's where I'm thinking we need to be better about that with you know, with company culture. And that's where I really wanted to kind of focus on primarily today's conversation is, when you go through these things, how are you supporting your people? And are your people like, you know, when they go and they're away, do they have a sense of security when they come back? Do they have back? One of the things I left out was when I was going to come back, like if I had come back to the higher ed job, I wasn't going to be the manager anymore. It's out that while I was gone that month, somebody had been taking my job, like duties. So I knew that if I came back, I wasn't going to be doing the same job duties as I did before.
Oh, wow. So you were demoted.
I was going back to kind of be kind of on a, you know, really not a management role, but sort of, you know, just an associate role, which is
demotion, right? And that would maybe also translate salary wise from what you were.
That the salary was going to change, but I know was that the duties that I wasn't doing, I wasn't going to be the same. So I thought that was different, and I didn't want to explore that. I didn't want to have to go through that. Like,
of course,
you know, with my coworkers, and all of a sudden I'm not where I was before. But I think that they themselves weren't going to see me the same way before. There was that stigma, like
correct.
Oh, well, she went and took time off because she was unwell. And that was because, you know, mental health wasn't really normalized back then. And now I don't think that
we're not talking even that too long ago. We're talking in the period of just the last couple of years, 7 years, 10 years.
Right.
Having these conversations.
Yeah, having these conversations is been much more prevalent in the last 7-8 years. But it just, you know, a decade ago was not something you talk about. People they didn't really talk about their mental health, and if they did, they were kind of it was like a stigma,
Yeah,
like,
it was
or
Sean. It was overshadowed. Yeah, people say.
like, I don't really talk to her because she's a little crazy. Like that would be something someone would say.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
So that's so yeah, so now 2024, navigating through an HR role where I'm seeing company culture. I'm seeing which I just did a termination, and the person that we terminated, I can't really get into the details, but was actually seeing a mental health professional.
Oh, that
So
was not the reason. Oh, let me
no,
see.
it,
Okay.
it wasn't the reason, but you have to take that into consideration.
Got
You,
you.
and I don't think that I don't know why that wasn't taken into consideration, or if that was taken into consideration, but I think that there is potential improvement.
Yeah, because that was literally gonna be my next question. Is like, okay, now here you are. What can you do in, poniendo your granito de arena in this whole
Please.
aspect of like, okay, how can I contribute based on what I know now in this space of, I'm like, the word on the street on social media is usually HR is not for the employees, it's for the company. But still,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
things like
There-
there's policies, there's
right.
adjustments, arrangements, training, things that you
Mhm.
can just, put into the system and hopefully make it better for the next person that comes along. Tell us more.
And that's kind of why I elected to go into a role in HR, was because coming from having utilized HR, having had, mental health, been, had some mental health setbacks, and I think that is why I'm such a proponent for change. I want to be able to help the culture, help change the culture, show employees that you care about what they do. And you do that by not only, there's a lot of talk about diversity and equity and inclusion, and company and motivating your employees and appreciating your employees. So going with that, there's a lot of talk about, there's the intangibles and the tangibles, but
Correct.
the intangibles are where it's at. Like that is where, how you treat them, how you greet them, and especially
How you
if they're
keep the retention of your employees too.
Yeah, it's how you keep the retention of your employees, but also like keeping them, motivated is how the company is going to be productive. The productivity is going to go high when your employees are motivated and are generally happy to come to work or to work.
Right.
The work is purposeful. There has to be some sense of of camaraderie that you have to establish. And if your company doesn't have that kind of culture, you need to create it most of it from the ground up.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
And the previous company I was in, we had a great like our
Dynamics.
our team dynamic was solid. But we went through a merger, and we went through a merger through the end of 2022, and the beginning of 2023, it was a whole different company. It wasn't. And so because the company became more interested in KPIs, more interested in the bottom line, more interested in yeah, exactly. And less about like caring for how we do our jobs independently. Because I think as a coach, we all felt that we had our own like way of doing things. Even though we were very similar coaches, we didn't have like a script. And when you throw a script to coaches that had already been doing the way they were coaching for 3 years, and it was working, and you were getting so, it was great turnout. And then it was like this script that wasn't very friendly. It just, the dynamic changed, and it was more about, like, we just want to make sure that, it was a very different kind of job. And so, the company culture changed, and then, people started to leave, and
the turnout. Yeah, the turnover.
Yeah, including myself, right?
So what is your title today? How you describe yourself professionally?
So I consider, well, this job that I'm in, I'm an HR administrator. But I'm also a wellness coach. Like, I want to say I'm very much of, because I consider myself a healer, and I still practice my, still have my massage practice. I still have my coaching practice. You can, I can do both. I can do, and I really just see myself as someone you can just rely on, and as to guide you through navigation with mental health or wellness. Yeah, at this point.
Excellent. And also, what do you do for fun, Jackie, in order to close out this show?
Well, I have the pulse on food in Miami. Like, every day there's a new restaurant, and I have to go check it out, and I have to see, gotta tell people about it. I gotta, and if there's a festival, or if there's anything related to food, really, I'm constantly, like, putting it on my, like, this is a must place to check out. So that's what fun. I do consider myself I have a specific palate. Like, I can't tell you. I am very specific on what I like.
Sweet, in the middle, sweet and sour.
I love sweets. I love sweets, but I do like the sweet and sours, or the sweet and savory combinations. But yeah, for the most part, I get excited about either one, and
Excellent. And really, the only thing that I would like to close out, which is always like an uplifting message, like in generalizing, like you say, what is your message to anyone that's specifically going through, that you're not alone, that you're not, I always kind of like close out with my guests, giving that sense of hope.
Yeah. Like, my sense of hope is, like, don't stay with the information with yourself. Like, don't stay quiet about it. Because you want to be able to talk about it. You want to express yourself, express how you feel. The worst thing you can do is just keep it to yourself. I think it's super toxic. I know that was one of the things that I kept from telling people about how I felt. And I knew it was really toxic for me. So being open and talking about it with the people that you trust and that have your back. That would be my message to you, is to open up the lines of communication.
Okay. Can you give us your links for your wellness page if people want to reach out to you?
Yeah, so my Instagram, that's, it's JM Wellness Miami, just all together. You can send me, you can DM me. I check my DMs daily, so if you want to chat, if you want to set up a call, I have a sliding scale, so, like, I work with people with their incomes, and it is what it is. We're in Miami, Florida. It's very expensive financial difficulty is on a high, an all-time high.
Please
So,
do. Yeah, it's true.
I work with people's finances all the time.
Flexibility. So we know, now we know.
I have a flexible rate. So never feel like, oh, she's going to be too expensive for me. Never feel that, because I'm fortunate enough to like have been given some, some free help, and I'm willing to
Pro bono.
pay,
Right.
yeah, that forward. So yeah.
But definitely you're gonna hire my friend, kiddo. So you gotta help out.
Yeah.
So check out her page.
Yeah.
And
So that's where you can find me on my Instagram. And yeah. Looking forward to helping more people.
Excellent, excellent. So I am gonna close out like I always do, and I will see you in the next edition. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Ciao, ciao.